Um, all right, so let's do a shameless podcast plug.
All right. Shameless podcast plug. I have a shameless podcast I'd like to plug. That would be Life Lessons in Pro Wrestling with myself and the fabulous Playboy Bob Keller, or with the fabulous Playboy Bob Keller and myself, depending on who's saying it at the time. Bob had the idea to do this podcast years ago because he and I like to riff off one another. We have the same sense of humor, the same mentality, quick on the ball. In fact, on my way over here tonight, he was talking about a wedding that he DJ'd tonight, and he was talking about the garter thing, that you do with the garter belt and all that. And he says, it was getting kind of racy with all the double entendres and everything. And he says, but I never went overboard with it. I'm like, oh, so you didn't say, you got a humper tonight? And he goes, oh my God, you sounded just like me. By the way, I don't think I said hump, but I'm trying to be somewhat clean here.
Right.
So he had the idea. Let's do this podcast, and he's wanted to do it for a long time. And I live in Greenville. He lives in Columbia, so there was a lot of details there to work out. But there finally came a time where I was in the area, so we had time to sit down and do it, and we had a blast with it. We don't. I mean, we have an idea, one or two things that we want to talk about. The rest is just whatever comes to mind, whatever
Right.
stupid shit. And whatever you do when you get to sit down with him, do not ask Bob about GoFundMe accounts.
Yeah, that's already been on the.
That was on one of the episodes. It was on Skylar's podcast too, because I know what he's going to say. He's going to say, "Let me tell you about this goddamn GoFundMe's."
Right.
There goes the swearing thing.
All right, so do you guys do it every week or every
We
other
we
week?
try to get one every week. We figured out recently how to do it over the phone, so I may be able to phone him in a little bit more
Huh?
if I'm not down in Columbia all the time, which doesn't happen much. So we did one. He was in West Virginia and I was in Greenville, so we found a way.
Right. By the way, the
Excuse me.
link for their podcast will be down in the description if you want to check it out. Um,
Yep, we're
there you
part
go.
of the WrestleForce Radio Network on Facebook, and of course Brett Wolverton, Robert Keller, you can find on Facebook too.
Right.
But the WrestleForce Radio Network page is usually where we post them when the new episodes drop, and we're on there. John Schuyler has his Preaching the Truth that's on there almost weekly as well.
Okay. All right, so easy question for you. Do you still enjoy what you do like you did when you first started?
For the most part, yes. There are some shows more than others that when that music hits, I'm standing behind the curtain and I just go, all right, I'm feeling it tonight.
Right.
There are others where you go, okay, it wasn't the best one that we've done, or crowd wasn't into it, but I still have the same passion for it today that I had 11 years ago when I first picked up a microphone. Um, I had the PWX show I did in Concord a couple weeks ago. We had 500 people in the crowd, and when I drove home that night, I had what we like to call a post-show depression. It was over. I knew I wasn't going to get back in the ring for a few weeks, and I just disappointed. I wanted that back.
Yeah.
So I always tell people when you lose that feeling, that excitement, it's time to walk away because
Right.
you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I still have it.
Okay. Well, that's good that you enjoy what you're doing. Um,
I love interacting with people.
yeah.
That's one of the main reasons why I do it. I was told from a young age, I've never met a stranger. I can talk to anybody. Our first interaction, we barely knew one another.
Right.
And I just went, all right, I'm going to talk to you. And I did. And now here we sit 9 months later doing a YouTube show.
Yeah. All right.
This is
So
on YouTube, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not Twitter.
Not Twitter. Okay.
It will be, but not right now.
Yeah.
Um,
I didn't think they could put that long a video on Twitter.
well, the link will be there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Uh, all right. So pet peeves. What are the pet peeves for Wolverton? I know the bell. I know the bell. Um,
The bell is one Bob loves to mess with me on because he knows it drives me nuts when somebody hits the top of a ring bell. Because I know people watch wrestling, they hear the bell go off, but I don't think many are aware of how it makes that sound.
right.
in order to make that sound, as I like to say, if you want it to go ding ding, you hit the side. You hit the side of the bell. Because if you hit the top, it goes ka-tunk. And that just makes my skin crawl. I'm to the point now where if I'm at a show that I'm announcing and I don't recognize the guy that's ringing the bell, I will purposely, in front of the crowd, say, I want you to ring that bell right now. Just once for me. Don't you dare! On the side! No, the side! The other side! Now you're hitting the wood that it's on. Oh, for the love of Pete. So yeah, that the bell is one of my big pet peeves. Uh, I also don't like the phrase "current, reigning, and defending." You hear that on a lot of championship introductions. The reason I don't like that is, to me, that's a boxing introduction.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason people in wrestling do it is because WCW brought in Michael Buffer for years, and that was Michael Buffer's thing, because it was a boxing thing.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still, and I've had wrestlers that have specifically asked me to do that, and I'll go, "You're lucky I like you."
Right?
Won't do that for everybody. So John Schuyler, you owe me one. He was one of them. So I hate the phrase "current, reigning, and defending."
Well, that's two.
That's two.
I mean, not like we're making a list
We're
here,
trying
but
to make, yeah. What's my Jericho list?
yeah.
Uh,
You just made the list.
what makes my list? Having to do lists.
I
I don't have
I
the
just made the list.
I don't have the attention span for this.
Uh,
Oh, another thing. Managers and announcers that try to take the spotlight away from the show.
yeah.
As a manager, and even as a ring announcer, you're supposed to be, I like to say, you're the crouton on the salad. The salad is the main portion. We're just there to be a little bit of it.
Yeah.
If you want to be a character, get in the ring.
Right.
That's what that's for. I have my interactions in between matches with the fans,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know when to rein it in.
Yeah.
I don't want to make the show about me, because it's not. Nobody is paying $10 because I'm announcing a show.
Right.
They're there to see your John Schuyler's, you know, your Gunners, your Sixes, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just there to host. I'm the ringmaster of a one-ring circus.
Well, how big is the ring?
Depends on what show you're at. They can be 16 foot, they can be 18 foot, sometimes they're 20.
No, I'm talking about your ring.
Oh, my ring's a 14.
Okay.
Maybe a 13, I lose track.
All right. Well,
It's the only time I'll have a 13 in my hand. Two sevens, maybe.
In closing, is there any advice that you can give to people that want to do what you're doing? Not necessarily become a wrestler or a referee, but what you're doing.
Don't.
Don't.
I got jobs here. It's job security. Tell them not to. No.
Okay, that time it was you.
That's probably Bob going, "Are you still doing that damn podcast?" It's not even a podcast. It's a YouTube show.
Right?
But no, honest advice: if you want to announce, watch wrestling, but don't watch the wrestling. Watch the announcers. The first time I picked up a microphone in Bay City, I went to get in the ring, and a good friend of mine who was there doing shows, he was doing play-by-play for him at the time. He said, "So how are you going to do this?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Are you going to go out there and be like Gary Capetta? Are you going to be like the Fink?" I said, "No, I'm going to be Brett Wolverton.
Right.
I may use a little bit of what they do, but I'm going to make it my own."
Yeah.
So, watch almost everybody's got the network now.
Yeah.
Or YouTube. Go on YouTube. Find all these old shows, because they're on here. There's house shows, there's old TV. Pay attention to the ring announcers. Listen to the cadence that they have, how they deliver. Or if you really want to do it, send me a message on Facebook. I put together a whole seminar with notes. It's like 9 pages of advice on what to do. Um, Cheap plug for my own Facebook page. Uh, but yeah, just pay attention to what the announcers do and don't try to be a character. Just go out there and be yourself. I've heard so many announcers go out there and they want to do the big booming voice that they just don't have. And
Right.
to me, that comes out so phony.
Comes out being like a
It's
squeak of
like,
a prepubescent
right.
teenage kid.
It's like you have a microphone. A microphone amplifies sound. You don't have to scream into a microphone. That will do the trick for you.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh because I've had crowds that'll try to start booing louder or talking louder, and I go, I have the microphone. This amplifies sound. I will always be louder than you. You're laughing because you saw me do it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But no, and don't be afraid to ask people for advice. Never be afraid to approach anybody at a show. It doesn't matter if you're sharing a locker room with Hulk Hogan or a guy that's a janitor 5 days a week and just wrestles on the weekends. If they've been doing it longer than you, they have advice. You don't necessarily have to agree with everything they have to say because sometimes person you can ask 10 people the same question, you're going to get 10 different answers in wrestling.
Right.
So you have to gel it into what works for you.
All right. Well,
And don't be shy. Shyness does not work for announcers because you are the first person they see and the last person they see.
it doesn't work for YouTube show hosts either. That's why I had this guy the first time. Uh,
I'm here to hold his hand through it.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show and being my
Thank you for
first
having me.
guest. Um,
Busted.
um, thank you for coming on the show. If you like this, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and obviously we'll have more content. I'm pushing for one per week.
Does it still count if I like it, even though I was on it?
You can.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I mean, I'm
that,
not going to
that'll
because
be,
I don't like my own work. I'm my own worst critic. We all are in wrestling.
and everything else. But
Well, yeah,
um,
I beat myself up a lot, but I deserve it.
well, see, wrestling, he's got help with that.
Yeah,
That's why he doesn't manage
yeah,
anymore.
I can always find somebody that's willing to beat me up because they used to say, "Oh, there's a battle royal tonight. Brett, you in?" Shit. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content. Links are Twitter and Facebook, and their podcast is down in the description. Y'all have a wonderful night, and thank you. That is the wrong button.